To our board meeting on October 26th. We met this afternoon. We had a workshop, which we will be sharing with you in just a few minutes. Then we went into closed session in which negotiations issues were discussed. Nothing was decided. So we'd like to begin the meeting with Dr. Pulver leading us in the pledge.
I'd be happy to. Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I'm going to begin by reading Los Alamitas USD will be implementing California Department of Public Health guidance, which no longer requires social distancing in public settings. CDPH requires that unvaccinated individuals wear face coverings when indoors. Therefore, we request that unvaccinated individuals wear a mask covering while indoors. By physically attending this meeting without wearing a mask, you are attesting that you keep the requirements of CDPH's guidance for the use of face coverings. Thank you. And now we'd like Mrs. Galicia to please give us a summary of our workshop this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. We had the pleasure of having Mr. C.J. Nolan present a workshop on our current projects using bond money and also our facilities projects. We've looked at the multi-story and where we are with that, the progress, and it's looking very well on schedule, as well as where we are with all of our playgrounds, our solar projects, as well as at the high school, we might do a new scoreboard. And we talked also the new gym, and where we are with that progress.
Thank you. It was an excellent presentation. I'm so excited about the three-story building. Now we're moving on to reports and recognitions, and we'll begin with my board report. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Sorry, I just did this wrong here. On October 13th, it was truly an honor for our board to be present at McAuliffe Middle School for the ribbon-cutting ceremony that officially opened our well-spaced centers at both McAuliffe and Oak, and that's what I'd like to share with you tonight. The well-spaced centers came into being through a partnership between our mental health team and the Children's Hospital of Orange County, CHOC, the Orange County Department of Education, and LAIF, our own Los Alamitas Education Foundation. Each brought with them the funds, resources, counseling support, and most of all, the determination and heart to make this incredible health resource a reality for our children. The well spaces at McAuliffe and Oak are the very first to open in all of Orange County, with our third well space opening at the high school in the very near future. The well space encourages students to take a break from life's daily stressors in a place that is safe, inclusive, calming, and supportive. Each center is staffed with counselors and interns ready to help our students navigate each day. And this is the Wellness Center, the Well Space at Oak. And having seen both of them, I'd actually really love to have their interior decorators, because you walk in, it's beautiful, it's peaceful, it's welcoming and warm. At McAuliffe, you can see new furniture and a natural design welcome students into a space where they can relax and recharge. After the official ceremony, we were given a tour of the Well Space Center at McAuliffe by students who guided and informed us with an incredible sense of ownership and pride. They shared how much the students are loving this space. At lunch, this room is filled to overflowing with students spilling out into the quad. We were told that that it is the same as true at Oak as well. Now I'd like to present a clip from the Orange County Department of Education newsroom about our well space.
Today we are at Los Alamitos District at McAuliffe Middle School, and we're celebrating the opening of our two first well spaces. It's been a partnership with CHOC, Los Alamitos District, and OCD. We're just so happy to be able to have this grand opening to really showcase the work that we're doing as a team. And so during this pandemic, when we see an increase in mental health needs and anxiety, we're able to provide them support right in their school as part of their campus and really reduce that mental health stigma. So this is the first school year they've been really able to use it, and the impact has been just amazing to see.
having students back on campus and seeing the immense needs that they have, it really has become a retreat and a respite for students. And so as they come onto our campus, they bring a lot of difficulties with them, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of need for additional support. And they've really glommed onto this space as a place that they can receive that support.
The amygdala, that little 2 almond-sized, regions recessed in the human brain, it detects, it's the fear and flight that we go through. Because the amygdala, it basically takes hostage the irrational side, and you want to do irrational things. And we all go through that as adults. So for them to have this center right here, to just calm them down and maybe speak to a professional, that could change the whole, their discourse and just their whole outlook toward life.
It's a place that they can breathe, step outside of kind of the hustle and the bustle and the stressors of being on a middle school campus with 1,200 other kids. They like to do a lot of the fidgets, they do the sand garden, they do read in there, and when they're ready to talk, there's somebody in there for them to talk to.
This partnership with the Orange County Department of Education and Los Alamitos Unified is a natural and perfect fit. I think we all feel that way. All 3 organizations are focused solely on what is right and best for our young people. How can you go wrong?
I think that we have a unique opportunity to impact kids, and we always have, and education has always been a great tool for providing for equity and equality. But now, with the rise in mental health needs facing our society, we have a great opportunity to make an impact at a young age. I know that adolescence is a difficult time for all of us, and I think that our ability to intercede during this time, to provide that break and to provide that support for kids, is going to change the way that they go out and impact the world.
It's really the dream come true and the vision where we want everyone to be excited about this, that we want them to join us in being a partner. And we're going to continue to open these until hopefully we get one at every school in Orange County. And so every student has access to the space of calm and this well space.
Sorry. This is the physical layout of the rooms, and you can see the office spaces. So if students come in and just need a few minutes to take a breath and relax, there's all kinds of little activities they can do, or they can sit and talk to one another. But if they need counseling, we have offices with counselors and interns to provide that service. It's being so well received that the teachers are all excited about it too, because the student comes back in a much better place. In 2018, when I first ran for school board, a group of my former students invited me to meet with them at lunch at La Salle, and I began to understand the significance of the problem of mental health on our campuses. These were AP students who I assumed wanted to hear about what it was like to run for office. I spent the entire half hour listening as they shared their concerns and fears for the mental health of their friends and other students on the campus of Los Alamitas High School. Pressure, anxiety, depression, and isolation were all conditions they said were resulting in sleep deprivation, poor eating habits, some were self-medicating, cutting, and even thinking about suicide. They opened up about students who were afraid to be less than perfect, while others felt like they'd already failed. Some expressed that there were those who felt different and that made them isolated and alone. Few had found a safe place. It broke my heart to think that so many of these young people were seemingly invisible to all of us. We know that the pandemic caused an even greater sense of isolation and aloneness for families and children. Along with everything else, learning loss is a deep concern. However, it does not matter how much money or effort we put into addressing learning loss if we do not address the mental and emotional well-being of our students. None of that will matter. Recognizing the need, our board, working with Dr. Pulver and our cabinet, made providing mental health and wellness services for students and staff our top priority under the district's Goal 2, which aims to cultivate a thriving culture that ensures a caring, inclusive, equitable, safe, and student-centered environment. Creating these well spaces, along with nearly doubling the number of mental health counselors, is how we begin. I want to express the gratitude of our board to Dr. Pulver, Mrs. Delk, and all of your team for joining forces with Chalk, the county, and LAIF to move forward to get us to where we are now. A giant thank you to Dr. Weiss Wright and Mrs. Kaminsky, your incredible administrators, psychologists, counselors, and staff. Without your hard work, commitment, and collaboration, these would be empty rooms. In the midst of the chaos of a pandemic shutdown, none of you quit. It is not a hyperbole to say that you all are not only providing safe space for students, but you are saving lives. On behalf of our Board of Education, we thank you with all of our hearts. Thank you. Now I'd like to move on to a highlight of the evening, Will's Student Board Report.
All right. Good evening, President Davidson, esteemed board members, Dr. Pulver, executive cabinet, and community members watching in person or online. Hello once again. My name is Will Brandenberger, and I want to thank you all for tuning in for my 5th Student Board Report. Without further ado, let's get into what's been going on at LoSal. For this week's academic slide, I wanted to spotlight one of the best organizations LoSal has to offer, Spanish Honor Society. This highly prestigious organization is made up of students that have at least a 3.0 cumulative GPA, must be in Spanish 4 or above, and have 5 semesters of A grades in Spanish. The club is run by Senior Martinez, and the goal is to recognize students with exceptional Spanish academics and to increase Spanish cultural awareness within our community and school. One way they do this is by hosting drives and donation opportunities. 2 years ago, Spanish Honor Society collected soccer cleats to donate to low-income areas in South America. And just this past week, they attended a Spanish arts and crafts show. Here they got to listen to Spanish opera singers and got to see a plethora of Latin American museum-level art. The club has around 150 members and is very popular. It's a great way to engage students into the culture that surrounds us and apply classroom knowledge to the real world. And what great timing for this report as it's homecoming week. And I don't mean to be arrogant, but this week has already been amazing. As you can see on the screen, 4th period during ASB is really crazy. These past 3 months have felt like Wall Street, from market open to close, minus all of the insider trading, of course. And all of this work paid off, as ASB has activities planned from Pajama Day to wear your Halloween costume day this Thursday. Along with great outfits, we have a week of lunchtime activities like cornhole, great music, and spike ball. And to finish off this amazing week of fun, we have football this Friday, where the homecoming queen and king will be announced, and an assembly that will be held outside this year on the track. But the fun doesn't stop on Friday, as we have the dance this Saturday. I'll have more photos for my next report, but don't be surprised if you see a photo of me in a shark onesie. This week has been around 2 months of planning, and I wouldn't be able to showcase this slide without shouting out ASB's hard work and giving a special shout out to Sophia Ferguson, Alexa Dharmapalan, Evelyn Ray, Hannah Fackrell, and Ashley Heron. These ladies put their heart and soul and lots of tears into this week, sometimes even staying until after 7 p.m. to finish that last poster. Another event going on this week, in this already jam-packed week, is Red Ribbon Week. This is a nationwide program that is dedicated to educating students and bringing awareness to drug and alcohol abuse. Some of our homecoming dress-up days themes have been woven together to incorporate this educational week. This Wednesday is Wear Your Sunglasses and Block Out Drugs. The week has already been off to a great start, and I'll have many photos for my next report. With our fall sports seasons coming to an end soon, the amount of games have been dwindling, but that doesn't stop our fearless Griffins from destroying the competition. 2 weeks ago, football played Fountain Valley and won 56-7. Talk about a blowout. And just this past Friday, LoSal played Huntington Beach High School with a score of 49-14. I think all of the students agree the highlight of these games is seeing teachers run the flag when we score. My personal favorite has been Mr. Bowen and Mr. Farver tag teaming our victory flag run, and I don't want to put you on the spot, Dr. Pulver, but I think the entire student section is awaiting your running of the flag at this homecoming game. On the aquatic side of things, men's water polo has had their final home game in senior night. This year, they honored their 3 seniors, Liam Maples, Caleb Francisco, and Otto Nash. And I have to give a major shout out to Otto for scoring his very first goal after 4 years on varsity. I know that sounds very confusing, but Otto has played goalie for 4 years, and in his final game, he got to play the field and scored the final goal. Another quick shout out goes to girls volleyball for making it to CIF. They did lose, unfortunately, but their effort they put in was exceptional. And that's all for sports this week. As always, more coming soon. And coming this week for 3 nights only is the LoSal Drama Department's newest show, Puffs, or 7 increasingly eventful years at a certain school of magic and magic. This show is guaranteed to have you laughing and questioning the similarities to a very famous wizard. The show times are 7 p.m. on Thursday and Friday, as well as another showing at 3 p.m. on Friday and the last one at 2 p.m. on Saturday. Drama's first show is ready to go, and I think everyone is so excited to see this hilarious parody take the stage. And when you're done laughing at Puffs this week, make sure to congratulate our marching band as they won first place in the RCC Big Orange Classic tournament this Saturday. Furthermore, they were also awarded first for Best General Effect, Best Music, and Best Percussion. After facing the rain and all other problems that arose, our marching band showed their Griffin spirit and won it all. Congratulations to marching band. I can't wait to see what you win next. And for my personal favorite segment this week, I thought it'd be great to showcase the fantastic Mr. Grant as he delves into the world of code in his recent classes. This is Mr. Grant's 5th year teaching at LoSal, teaching AP Computer Science Principles, AP Computer Science A, and Intro to Computer Science. He loves teaching the class as students have a choice to take the elective, which boosts participation and makes kids want to learn. What most people don't know about him is that he actually taught calculus for 1 year and made the extremely wise decision to teach computer science instead. But furthermore, he actually was not always a teacher. Mr. Grant is the former owner and operator of Z Pizza in Seal Beach. Besides being a pizza connoisseur and teacher, he's also a father to 2 children, both of which are in elementary school, which he raises with his wife. On the weekends, he finds himself coaching his son's soccer team or taking a run. He has participated in different competitions like the Boston Marathon or the Seal Beach 10K, which he won for 4 years in a row from 2008 to 2011. When the day is done, the Grant family finds themselves spending time with each other. And if he had his way, they would be watching his favorite movie of all time, either Back to the Future or The Empire Strikes Back. And every week when I interview a new teacher, I always ask them what their favorite quote is. And Mr. Grant loves his quotes. He starts every class period with one, actually. He gathers quotes from famous people in history. He says the best person to quote is actually yourself. And because of this, his quote board is always open for a new idea. I couldn't finish this teacher time without giving Mr. Grant a shout out for visiting my own haunted house this past week, and don't worry, I did not scare his children too bad. Thanks to Mr. Grant for letting me interview you this week. The pleasure was all mine. And lastly, but certainly not least, for this week's Student Spotlight, we have Danielle Barron. Danielle is a senior at LoSal, enrolled in 2 AP classes, but most importantly is a member of the Sound Effects Choir. Not only is she just a star singer, she's also a VMC for sound effects. And yes, I was absolutely confused as to what a VMC was too. It stands for Vocal Music Captain, basically choir's equivalent of a team captain. She keeps students on track and relays information from the teacher to her peers. She has found a love for music as she is passionate about singing and finds happiness being with her friends on stage. She distinctly remembers the time she sang Cry Me a River by Michael Bublé as the vocally demanding song made for a smash hit performance. Her goal in life is to become a performance therapist to help others with their confidence and create music. She's already on this track as she gives children within the local community vocal lessons to help with their performance anxiety and improve vocal technique. And it doesn't stop there, because outside of school, she makes her own jewelry, plays the piano, composes her own music, and works at Chick-fil-A. So she's at least free on Sundays. As she leaves LoSal, Danielle hopes to leave behind a legacy of someone that made others feel welcomed and appreciated. Danielle is a great representation of the new talent about to take on the world, and it's no doubt in my mind that we will see her on Broadway or touring the world showcasing her own music someday. I did want to give a quick shout out to her also for being nominated for Homecoming Queen this past week. Good luck to you on that note, but most importantly, hats off to you, Danielle. And that's all for this report, folks. Thanks for listening, and to those at home, thanks for watching. Have a great night.
Thank you so much, Will. Outstanding as always. And now we're moving to our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Will. It's always a pleasure to just follow your presentation. You know, he really does a great job of captivating the 4As on our campus and highlighting both staff and students. And it's also wonderful to see your parents this evening in the audience. So we're very proud of him. I'm sure you are as well. And I can remember when we interviewed Will for the student board rep, one of the things that he talked about in the interview was his love for Halloween and this creation of a haunted house. So last night was one of the events. I got to attend a little bit earlier before the crowd came, myself, and I know Scott and Chris joined as well. The kids are in for a treat on Halloween, but they certainly were in for a treat last night as well. So it's neat to see our students have an array of different passions and talents that they share with the community, which is always wonderful. So I thought I'd spend tonight doing a little bit, I wanted to spotlight our child development, our extended daycare program, and it's kind of called two different things. It's either called Kids Corner at our elementary schools or the Outpost at our middle school. And they're just really an exceptional group of employees who have gone above and beyond to really provide opportunities for our families for childcare. When I think about the pandemic and when schools were forced to shut down with very little notice, when we shut down in March, as a district, we shut down for 2 days, and then we tried to provide opportunities for our families with distance learning by the Wednesday. So we were closed Monday and Tuesday. We are the only district that I'm aware of that kept our childcare centers open. And it was a very bold opportunity, but it's because I think that we really knew that many of our families needed opportunities to provide care for their children. Many of them were frontline workers. I think some of them were doctors right here at Los Al, and they had no place to care for their child. And so I was really proud that through Yolanda Mortensen, our extended daycare supervisor, and her staff, people were willing to step up and be able to keep the program open. Contrary to some political pressure from some members of the community who were not going to utilize the extended daycare program, really wanted us to close everything down. But really the state asked us to provide an essential service for our families, and we did. Really, really proud of that. Our extended daycare program is really committed to providing a safe, nurturing, and fun environment. We provide both before school care as early as, I believe, 6:30 in the morning to 6 p.m. at night. Opportunities to enhance physical, emotional, and social, intellectual, and creative growth for our students, and maintaining self-supporting programs. It really is through parent-paid programs, and so I'm really pleased that we were a trailblazer at this. By the time towards the end of that first year, as other districts saw how successful that we were able to maintain a safe daycare program for our families who needed it without any transmission rates of COVID, we started seeing other districts reach out to us and say, how did you keep your extended daycare program open? But really it was because of an amazing staff who were willing to put themselves and work in that opportunity to provide this service to our community. Just some fun pictures to share from our extended daycare. At Rossmore, they've been working on a garden. That's a gourd that they just recently grew, and I am told that they're going to kind of take the guts out of it and dry it and create different artifacts and things with that. Our extended daycare program also offers homework help. They have a power hour at our middle school as well that I'll show a little bit later. When we were closed during the pandemic and even in the hybrid schedule, our extended daycare staff members got all the sign-ons for the students at their different grade levels, the Google Classroom. They too had to learn about Google Classroom and how to help support student learning through that process. And so a few more pictures here of homework club. So it's a great opportunity for students so that by the time they get home with their families, they're not having to force all of their home time doing their homework, so they provide a homework club. You get the picture on the right is really our middle school. It's called the Power Hour. You can see they're working in different technology to get their homework and support done through that as well. And then just various arts and crafts and socialization and outdoor activities, et cetera, which just really makes it a fun opportunity while at the same time providing a safe and service to our parents and to our community. And certainly holidays and art projects, et cetera, are also always celebrated within our extended daycare program. So I just really wanted to thank our extended daycare staff. They have been amazing. They stepped up when our community was most in need, servicing our community and providing an essential service of childcare, and certainly continuing to that. And so I'm really thankful for all of them. I want to express my gratitude to them and wanted to spend some time tonight really highlighting the amazing work that they do. I'd like to give them a round of applause. And And then just briefly, I thought I'd provide a little bit of information with the redistrict update. As a couple board meetings prior, we had a workshop that just explained that we too, with the census data, do have to go through the redistricting process just to verify that our trustee areas still meet the process, the threshold. And so every 10 years, we are required to take a look at the release of the census data and to ensure that the population, that each of the trustee areas are within a 10%. They don't vary more than that. If the trustee areas are within a 10% range, we will hire a demographer who's done the process as well. They'll give us all the data. We hope to be able to get some of that data from the demographer by the end of November. And then we'll find out if we have to take a look at making any changes to the maps. If they are within the 10% population, we do not need to make any changes. The board could simply pass a resolution and keep the trustee areas as they are defined already for the next 10 years. Or you could choose to make some changes to that as well. If we had any changes, we would go through, have draft map for the public to view and a public hearing before anything would be approved. But we are required to have all of this done by March 1st, 2022. We're not alone in that. What's been going on in the community, and I've been to various parent meetings this past week or two where some of this information is shared, so I thought it'd be important to share this with our community as well. The Orange County supervisors are also going, almost any organization after the census data. So the Orange County supervisors is going through their redistricting process. They have currently released 8 draft maps. 3 of the maps break up our community, break up portions of Seal Beach and Los Alamitos and Rossmore, where they would be in 2 different supervisor categories. So I know some people have really expressed that they have an interest to see our school district boundaries really represented by 1 supervisor. But that really is the opportunity for the community to provide their input. There's lots of community interest and things that you would take into consideration for that. And so there are a few ways that the public can provide feedback. There is an electronic link here. I have the link there. I think RHA has on their website as well information on how you can assess this if you can't. You can also provide public input at the November 2nd. I think that's next Tuesday, the Board of Supervisors meeting. It's at 10 a.m. Where they normally hold their meetings in Santa Ana. And I'm sure that's probably just one of a few public hearings that they may have on that process. And then the California legislature is also going through the redistricting process, and this has been something that has certainly come up recently within our community as well, that parents have reached out because it's for the Assembly and Senate districts. And so we draw the lines, ca.org is where you can get more information. They too have an opportunity to provide input and feedback, either via email, which the email address is there below, or certainly the link that I have there. Some of the things that I've heard from some parents who have some concerns is that it splits up. One of the draft maps splits portions of our zip code 90720 into Long Beach. And so there are individuals who really want to make sure that they're a part of Orange County, they're not part of LA County, and they'd like to have their assemblywoman or assemblyman and their senator really represent the county in which they reside. So if that is something of interest to this community, I wanted to spotlight it to make sure. I think this one has probably a sooner timeline than the other 2 that I referenced. So I just thought I'd give the community a little bit of information because all of us are kind of going through this process of once the census data has been released, taking a look at the redistricting process. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Culver. Okay, now we're moving on to board communication. And Mrs. Catulli, would you like to begin?
Yes, thank you. I want to start my board communication. I've received several requests from people who are supporting not having a recall, and they said that I needed to address some of the statements made on the recall website. So very quickly, I am going to say that the recall website mentions that we have violated the Brown Act. We have not violated the Brown Act. That is our open meeting law for the state of California. We are very careful not to violate it, so that is unfounded. And then they go on to talk about mask requirements. That is a state mandate. We are a state agency, and we have to follow what the state tells us to do. So we really had no input into that. So that is my comment for that. I want to say that I really enjoyed attending the official opening of our well spaces at our middle schools, and I'm looking forward to hearing how the students are truly accessing it and getting along on the day better than they had before. I was also at Los Alamitos Elementary when Assemblywoman Janet Wynn was there to help with the Blue Ribbon celebration that school received. I thought that was great that she came, and it was a great celebration with the kids. And they got an extra 10 minutes recess, so they were very happy with that. I did a walk through Weaver, outstanding school, great teaching. It's a great school to visit. I was able to attend McCullough's play, the first one they've had in over a year. I think it was closer to 2 years. It was called The Day the Internet Died. It was hysterical and well played, so it was a really enjoyable afternoon going there. I was also able to attend our Pta Council Meeting, which is representatives from all the schools in the area. It's a great group of people working hard for all of our kids, and that was actually when the redistricting first came up that I hadn't been aware of on the county and state level. And one quick thing about ROP, I want to say I went to my ROP meeting, and I think I mentioned it before that we were able to buy these things which are called Switch EV kits. And what they are is they're electric vehicles that you make from a kit. And after you make them, you can take them apart, and then another class can come in and make them. And this is for our advanced auto students. We do not have auto at Los Al High School, but any of our students can go to Laura High School because that is open to anyone within our consortium. And I just thought this was such a great fun thing to do that I would bring it out in case there is a student who's listening to this who is interested in automotive. We do have a path for you to go. I was able to go to the girls' volleyball with their first round playoffs of CIF, which they unfortunately lost, but they played well, tried hard. It's always a sad moment when you have a senior on the team and you know it's their last official high school volleyball game. But it was the girls played hard, and I'm sorry they didn't make it, and we lost to Cyprus, and I'm assuming Cyprus is going to go forward within the CIF rounds because they were one of the top seeds. And then I just want to make a real quick comment about the vaccinations comment that the governor had made a couple of weeks ago. I'm really encouraging people to reach out to your assembly person and the state senator and the governor and send them an email and tell them how you feel. We can't make that decision. We don't really have more input than anyone else about that decision. So I really would highly recommend you to do that, to email. I live in Seal Beach, so it'd be Janet Wynn and Tom Unberg, and then obviously Governor Newsom, and let them know how you feel because they do tally those things, and it's important that you do that. That's it. Thank you.
Mr. Fayette?
Thank you, Madam President. So this week, I'm going to touch on a lot of things that Mick talked about. I got to go see both of the middle school's plays, Law and Order, Fairy Tales, and The Day the Internet Died. They were both hilarious. If you can imagine trying to herd about 20 to 30 cats, that's kind of what it was, controlled chaos. Dr. Aria and Ms. Armstrong did fantastic jobs. 40 minutes well spent. The high school is doing puffs, which you saw in Will's fantastic report. I've watched that for the last couple of years. The kids put on fantastic productions. It's worth your time. It's great to take your kids to go see that. Also got to do a couple walkthroughs. There is such joy at the schools. Elementary schools, I've said it before, you watch the kindergartners, the first graders, and it's funny because we were at Lee today, and Miss Vento is a superstar. When she walks out, the kindergartners mob her, and it is, oh, Miss Vento, it is unbelievable, just the joy that they have. It's so nice to see the kids behaving like kids, running around on the playgrounds, getting to use some of the new equipment and some more new equipment that'll be coming shortly. If you're having a bad day, there's nothing better than going to watch some kindergartners run around and just enjoying life. Usually I like to take my opportunities to speak during my board communications. I like to highlight the positive things of the district, raise awareness of what's going on, some opportunities to enjoy all of the fantastic things that are going on in our district, and show some appreciation to people who may not get the spotlight shined on them, but they deserve it. I'm going to depart from my usual form and talk about a couple of things that have been happening in the community that I've been getting a lot of questions about. There's a group of parents who feel incredibly strongly about the mask mandate, both for and against. There's a group of parents who felt so strongly that they took their kids out of school, taking money away from the district, and having their child miss a day of school. Because they felt that this was so important. This protest against the mask mandate was so important that that's what they decided. There are a lot of proponents who feel the exact opposite. There is no vaccine mandate as of yet. It was just a press release by the governor, but he is forecasting what he plans to do. If you are for it or against it, I, Scott Fayette, board member representing Trustee Area 4 of the Los Alamitos School District, have exactly the same amount of influence that any of you sitting in this audience and any of you watching this at home on your computer. This is a state mandate. Both of these policies come from the state. Your influence is the same that I have. You write a letter, you make a phone call. I am not a state representative. I am a school board representative. Those two policies are far outside of my prerogatives. The district does many things incredibly well. It has received many awards and enjoys an incredible reputation for its academics, athletics, activities, and arts programs. But it is not perfect, and it has areas where it can improve in. There are a lot of parents who are upset with myself and 2 other board members and want to propose a recall. I don't think it's any surprise that I am against the recall. The recall is a group of frustrated parents who feel ignored, neglected, not listened to, and other issues. I've always tried to put the children first and will continue to do that. I feel the recall is very disappointing because I see all of this energy, time, resources, money being spent creating a lot of negative, a lot of distrust, disharmony, and disruption. We are coming out of COVID. We're coming out of a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. And instead of pulling together and putting the children first, there's a group of people that are putting themselves first. They are putting forward their political agenda, which is not the best thing for the children. As you can see by the behavior here, it is a small group of parents who are very vocal. I have spoken with very many of them, and individually and in small groups. I will continue to offer myself to speak with you, to discuss these issues, because I represent everyone in my community and do my best to listen to all of you in the community. When I do not agree with you or I do not do what you say, it does not mean that I did not listen to you. It means that I felt in the best interest of the children there was a different path. There is a very famous quote I try to use to help me remember as a board member. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Thank you. Mr. Forehand?
I had a great 2 weeks. I got to go, as everybody did, to the Wellness Center dedication. I participated in the Human Resource Collaborative. I got to serve lunch with Miss Diana to the staff at Rossmore, which means that the RHA now has served all 4 schools in Rossmore a wonderful lunch. LAE National Blue Ribbon Assembly was wonderful. And yes, Scott, we did get through the middle school show at Oak, and I got to see the 6th graders show at Oak, and they're getting a good start to becoming the advanced group down there. I got to watch personally my grandson get the Generous Award for the Character Counts at Lee School, and what a great thing to see all the kids get acknowledged for being generous. Lion Pride, that's a great outdoor event where kids are selected for being there by their teacher for an award for that month, and they drive by. They get to come out, embarrassingly so, sometimes at middle school, but they get to be recognized for making a difference at school. I represented us on a Dodger game night at SELPA, and fortunately, it was the shortest meeting in the history of SELPA. I continue my efforts in nuts and bolts to better understand the whole district and how it's supported by everybody. I am now called the spaghetti scooper of all time at Oak. I did LAE, and today I did a multitude of corn dogs at Hopkinson. All good. Congrats to Paul Crockett, which Will already mentioned, for having a great Griffin marching band. And then, as always, I like to end with kids because that's really what we're all about. And I went to the assembly at Rossmore last Friday, and it was great. They really got their mojo going with dance and all kinds of fun stuff. But it was to recognize kids who have read 1,000,000 words. And they get a medal, which I got to put on them. But I met Kai, and Kai's a 4th grader, and he has earned 19 million word medals. And what is it, the end of October? So that was great. And they're divided into 4 houses at Rossmore, and it's a great way. It's cross grade levels, so kindergartners are mixed with 2nd graders, 3rd, 4th, 5th. And they are currently collecting coins to help the animals that suffered during the oil disaster off the coast of Huntington Beach. So that was fun, and it ends Friday, and I'm going to stop by tomorrow with the coins for each of the 4 houses. I won't choose which one I like the best. But I want to end with a shout out to the Oak staff, because I got to see a student being recognized at the Lion Pride Assembly drive-by, and it wasn't your typical star student who reads 1,000,000 words a minute. He struggled to get to school, and it was their unique method, and it included a PE teacher who took him on, the school psychologist, of course, Alan with his baseball, the AP, but he was recognized for making a complete turnaround and being struggling to get to school to now where he enjoys going to school. So I think that says a lot about our district. They're all looking at kids, all kids, not just those that are academically or athletic, wonderful students, but they're looking at every kid to make them that wonderful student. So thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Hale?
Thank you very much, Madam President. It was a pleasure to get to serve lunch to the Rossmore staff. And Chris helped. He'd obviously done it 3 times before and helped lead the way. But it really was also a wonderful opportunity to speak to the leaders of RHA and what they're trying to do and who they're trying to reach out to. And I really appreciated being able to make those connections. I think that's part of what leadership is being able to make those connections. And then also just the simple joy of thanking somebody and giving them a sandwich when they weren't expecting it. really goes a long way. And RHA is really showing us how to show appreciation and how to show kindness. And we can all learn from that. So I was very appreciative of that time and opportunity with them. I kind of put this out of order, but I do want to kind of bring up a couple of things about the city of Los Alamitos. I am a Los Alamitos resident, and to be aware that there's a new thing coming out called Los Al Bucks, and so if you are in Los Al, make sure that you see your flyer, and they've come up with a very creative way of using their COVID dollars back out into the community. And so it just takes a little participation from us residents to local businesses that are going to be able to help them. And then also one of the things that they also are having a meeting and taking some information about a new general housing plan. So there is new housing coming into Los Alamitos, and we would say, how is that possible? Where could that go? So it's going into West Ed, is that correct? Area, and so that's right off of Lamson. And so for us as the district, that's wonderful to be having new families coming into our community. And so if you've gotten any information about that, that's another thing that you can really provide some information on as well. The wall spaces were just amazing. I got a chance to chat with the designer for a little bit and why she started doing what she started. And it's always amazing to talk to people that really are working in what their passion is and how to connect these things together. And our students, as Mrs. Davidson said, our student leaders were just amazing. And all the opportunities that this district gives to students to show leadership, to get public speaking skills, to be able to do those things that will take them so far in life is really amazing. I attended the operating steering committee meeting, and that is a meeting of our district representation from every school, as well as the community, that really talks about the operations of the district itself. And Ms. Iglesias, did an amazing job leading that meeting. Thank you very much. And we talked a little bit about the well spaces and those as well. Los Al football, if you haven't looked at the paper, is doing extremely well this year, and we're really happy and pleased for our players and just the great, as Will has said, the great culture that it brings on the high school campus, and that these students are really getting that opportunity to do it in the fall season and have homecoming in fall season. And we're really grateful that that's happened. So keep your eye on them. Los Al is doing exceptionally well. The day the internet died was just hysterical. It was so funny. And I just really appreciate the leadership of teachers like Mrs. Armstrong, who not only was directing her staff, she was also, I said, you're the best usher I've had in a long time. She ushered us. She made sure everybody had a seat and a proper seat, and she just really dealt with her theater extremely well, and very creative ways of doing sets. I'm a big theater goer, and I just thought they did a really great job. A little bit about Halloween. Past and coming. I had the chance to work the Los Alamitos Trunk or Treat with my husband, and gave out over 1,500 pieces of candy. So I'm glad I didn't go home with those children, but it was amazing, and saw a lot of people from the community and a lot of our teachers and staff and students, and that was very wonderful. And last night I got to go to Will's Waxworks, and I did. It was a little, I said, please don't scare me. I get scared easily. But, Will, I just have to say that you were so impressive, and not just typically how somebody would set up maybe a haunted house. You are strategic. You think the process all the way through. You look at some of the very best that are out there that are doing this, and seeing what best practices you can take from them. and incorporate those. And those are skills that are going to take you very far. And so just was really wonderful. And wonderful, I got a chance to talk to some of our staff, and regrettably so, I didn't realize that our girls' golf had done so well, but I got a chance to talk to our girls' golf coach, and we had a lovely chat. He was so proud of his students, and that most of them are freshmen. So we're thinking we're going to have good things coming down the line. Just a couple of other quick things. I had the opportunity last night to host an event at my house for LAIF, and watch for some exciting information coming out about that. But don't forget that our State of the District is November 18th, and then the King or Queen of Hearts is on February 11th, and it's a wonderful gala that LAIF puts on to not only raise funds for things like the wellness centers, but also to just talk about what they do and how they give back to the district and support the district in so many ways. And I'm just very appreciative of their staff and their incredible board leadership. I mean, we have really people that are important in this community are part of that leadership, and that shows to where they've gotten. And then the last thing I'd just like to finish with is that, one thing we've all kind of hit on is that what some people are calling the vaccine mandate isn't a mandate at this point in time. It is not formal at this point in time. And that really means that we have an opportunity, no matter where you are. But I will tell you that I am writing every week. And so if you don't know how to do that, it's a very easy thing to do, and you can go to senate.ca.gov, and you'll be able to find something, and it says find my senator, and you put in your address, and it pops up your assembly person and your senator. You can click on it, and you can send them a message very easily right away. And you have to be living in that community. The address you have to put in has to match what their area is, okay? And then you can also do the exact same thing for the governor. The assembly person and the senator, they only give you 2,000 words. The governor will let you do 6,000 words. I'm not sure if more words are better, but that is the case. So I do think it's really important, and we have to, that's the way that we have to have our voices heard when it comes to this. And I do appreciate all the parents on both sides that have been emailing and have great concerns. And if there's one thing that I really believe is that a parent is the one that has the ultimate right on how to parent their child. And so, have your voices heard, whatever your particular thoughts are, and that's just a little civics lesson and how you can do it and do it efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hill. I'm just real quickly, I want to give, all of the last 2 weeks has enabled us, actually the last 3 or 4 weeks, to travel from campus to campus and do walkthroughs. And I just want to say that it always reminds me of why we're here. Because as you walk through every single classroom, there are two things that always hit me. First of all, it's the personal connection of the teachers and the aides and the adults in the classroom with the students. And it's the productivity of the students that absolutely floors me. Today we walked through Lee, and the kids were writing, almost at every grade level, scary stories. And they were so excited about their scary stories. And the thing that really got me on 2 levels is, one, every grade level, it was obvious, had worked together collaboratively to create the best possible lessons. It wasn't done in isolation, like this teacher's great and this teacher doesn't know what's going on. They all worked together to create the best learning experience. And then the other part was that there's such a strong bond of what we call vertical teaming that goes on. Because as we went from kindergarten to 1st grade to 3rd, all the way up to 5th, you could recognize the growth in their writing, the growth in sentence structure, the growth in their vocabulary and word choice. And it was one grade building upon another. And the excitement in the room when the kids felt that sense of success. I don't know how many teachers looked at their class and they'd say, okay, now scholars, we are moving on to, and the kids would just kind of puff up with pride. And so I think that in the midst of everything, a very stressful, difficult world, what we see when we walk onto our campuses are really joyful, happy kids who are learning and growing and developing in amazing ways. When I look at what happens in a first grade class, I taught 8th, I taught 5th and 8th. I would never want to teach first grade. It is the scariest grade possible because you're responsible for teaching kids mathematics and reading. And I could just imagine that somebody wouldn't graduate from college because I did something wrong in first grade. But I think it's really important to recognize what the dedication and passion of the teachers in the classroom, and then also to recognize the administrators who support and care about them. Like Mr. Fayette explained, wherever Mrs. Vento went today, the kids were shouting out hello and coming up and hugging her, and it was obvious she'd made that personal connection too. And I can't forget the people who were serving these great lunches. I mean, orange chicken, I wanted to stay for lunch. And the gardening, our sites are beautiful. A few years ago, I'm thinking, why are they spending money on rocks and plants and all of that when I need things in my classroom? And now I'm back as a board member looking at these campuses that have beautiful, beautiful garden corners for kids to sit on park benches and talk to each other or sit at tables and enjoy the sunshine. And I do want to thank the district for all of the pop-up tents and tables and everything that have gone out to the campuses so that a lot of the lessons are done outside where the kids can take off their masks. So altogether, I just think that I really wanted to share what a joyous experience it is to witness education on our campuses, in our classrooms. And then the other thing that I did want to highlight was that the play at McCullough, the day the internet died, because SNL could have taken a lesson on social satire, and the lessons the kids learned about how they could survive not having TikTok or Instagram or anything else were done in such a comical but meaningful way. So I want to thank Mrs. Armstrong for that, and say a special thank you to our high school principal. Dr. Polo and I brought her lunch one day, and brand new year after all of this craziness, and she stepped onto a campus of 3,000 students, and she is doing a fabulous job, and she only wants to do better. So I'm very appreciative of Mrs. Krause and the work that she's doing. And for me, that's it. I want to thank everybody for their communication, and I don't think recess, no need for a recess. We're going to move straight into public comments. Okay, let me read this. The board welcomes input from the public. This is the opportunity. This is the opportunity for community members to provide public comment to the board on agenda items or items not listed on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the board should complete a speaker request card. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Public comment is limited to a total of 30 minutes. A speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another. When addressing the board, speakers are requested to address the board from the podium, state their name, and adhere to time limits. The board may not take any action or discuss any item not appearing on the posted agenda and cannot immediately respond to public comments. Speakers are cautioned that under California law, no person is immune from liability for making intentionally false or defamatory comments regarding any person simply because those comments are made at a public meeting. And we have more cards than we could finish in 30 minutes, so in order to give people the 3 minutes, we have, I think, 15 cards. Would we entertain extending the 30 minutes? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. So we will begin with Donna McGuire, followed by Stacy Muller.
Madam President, just for clarification, we've extended it and we'll provide all with the 3 minutes.
Yes.
Thank you. So we gotta make sure I press the right button.
Donna McGuire, I live in District 4, and I'll be leading the recall with Scott. gosh, you guys, you're consistent. You've put yourself first again. You've spoken first instead of letting us have our say. A lot of us have been here for 3 hours. Good idea, getting your PR in before we have a chance to speak. Another reason why you guys have to be replaced. It's really inappropriate, just very inappropriate. Scott, I had a whole other thing I was going to say, but you spelled exactly out why we have to get you out. You know, there's several reasons why people vote the way they do. They're looking for a representative, either that can vote for them, think for them. You kind of see that at the higher levels, president, Congress, assembly. But at the school board level, you're here to represent what we want. That's not your decision. And when I'm hearing you talk right now, it's what I want for the children, I want for the children. Now, you know that myself and a couple of others, we met with you and we tried to let you know, please put this off. Don't vote for social justice standards. Don't vote for the ethnic studies. Put it off till fall. That's all we ask you. But now you actually are completely clarifying that you feel that you know what's best for the people in District 4. So I don't have to go any further. You either think that Scott can make all your decisions for you, because that's what you just said, or we get somebody in there that'll listen to the parents. We have a very long history in this district of high academics, children who behave themselves. Those are the schools my children went to. They both graduated from La Salle and went to all through the schools. The parents at that point raised their own children, not the government. And certainly the school board, I felt at that time, and I used to support Meg, by the way, did what we asked them to do. I offered to have a town hall meeting with you, sponsor it, and have people from District 4 come in so you could chat with them before you made that vote. And you said no. Diana Hill, I did the same thing. So you've just spelled out why we need to recall you, and we need to do it quickly before this school board destroys this school district. We can't wait 4 years. We need to do it now.
Stacy Muller, followed by Andrea Howe.
4. The 5 of you work for the parents. I come up here a lot. I'm new to this, okay? Everyone can think whatever they want about me. I'm new to this. I'm not new to business. I'm also not new to how to handle people. No one's ever tried to talk to me about any of the issues I have, nor any of the parents that I know that have a lot of issues with this district. I'm also curious if anyone's ever reached out to any of the parents. There's so many parents that have left this district. Has anyone ever asked for feedback? I pulled my kids out, and Dr. Pulverall, you said, and you and I get along really well. I actually really like you as a guy. You're one of my favorites. But as a superintendent, all you said is, you're welcome back anytime. Don't you want to know what I'm pissed off about? And don't you want to know from parents what's going on and what they're thinking? Just because we don't agree with you, that's the most important person you should meet with for that feedback. Also, the vax mandates. Marlis, last board meeting, you said we need to all work together. I haven't heard anything about it. I haven't heard a word. You really said that, announced it to everybody. What are we going to do about this? It's a problem. And Capistrano wrote a letter to Newsom, and they rescinded the vaccine mandate. I haven't seen a letter from you guys. You know, what you're doing here, you are teaching CRT. You can call it social, emotional learning. You can call it whatever you want, but there's all different names for it. It's about dividing. It's not unifying. It's about dividing. The pronouns and the sexual orientation is about dividing. And now the vax and unvaxxed will be about dividing. Great. We can all not like each other. Okay, how about that? And pin kids against other kids. You want to teach my kids to be racist? Over my dead body. Okay? And even then, my kids love everybody. My kids love everybody. And that's why I pulled them out of this district. You wouldn't know that, though, because no one's asked me. It's very serious stuff here. You know, I'm a single mom, like I've said before. I can't afford to do what I'm doing, but you know what? I will never trust this district until you guys are replaced. It's a serious business. You're messing with my children. And you say all these wonderful things, but I don't trust you. You've proven that. And it saddens me. because we have an opportunity here to flourish in so many ways. But I don't feel heard, and a lot of parents don't feel heard. Hence the recall, which will happen. I promise you that.
Andrea Howe, followed by Rudy Kraus.
Hello, School Board, Dr. Pulver, and the Executive Committee. Thank you for your time and for helping keep our kids in person last year and have a good start to the school year this year. My name is Andrea Howe, and I have 3 kids in the district, and I'm here today to talk about mask mandates. While I know your hands are tied, I am asking for your advocacy when the time comes. My family and I all dutifully wore masks for over 15 months, and I sewed and donated them to our local grocery stores, but I am no longer convinced that the cost of masking our kids for 7 hours a day is worth the unproven benefits of rates of transmission. The recent Bangladesh study, the only randomized controlled trial study performed on masks, found no statistical difference for COVID infection rates when using cloth masks, and found no statistical impact of any type of mask for anyone under age 55. And the CDC published a large comparative study earlier this year of more than 90,000 students that found no statistically significant benefit of student masking mandates. We know that the majority of our students wear cloth or surgical masks, and as any teacher can tell you at any given time, there are always a few ill-fitting masks in the classroom. But putting aside how well mask mandates work to control community transmission levels, let's consider the necessity and cost benefits. Masks are not a benign intervention, which is why an entire continent of our peer nations in Europe have never masked elementary school kids and only mask teens under certain circumstances. They consider the whole child. They can mask emotions, interfere with language acquisition, and socio-emotional development. Is having the lowest at-risk demographic wear masks for up to 2 years, developmentally, socially, and psychologically healthy and appropriate. Health is about more than the absence of and avoidance of one respiratory disease. At my son's elementary school, he has had 1 case in his classroom all year since August 4th. So he has spent over 350 hours in a mask to prevent a possible exposure to 1 case. Is it worth it? Our school positivity rates across the district hover between 0% to 0.4% each week. Well done. Our community 7-day average positivity rate in our zip codes is just 1.3%. 68% of those 12 to 65 and 89% of our senior population have been vaccinated. What is happening in our communities shows what a highly vaccinated and previously infected community looks like, not what moderately protective, often ill-fitting cloth or surgical masks may do. So putting aside whether the masks most of our kids and staff wear work or not, let's consider if it's worth it in a community with so few cases and community spread to begin with. I know your hands are tied. We have to follow guidelines or risk losing our funding. On October 20th, CDPH announced their continued commitment to masking children and staff for the foreseeable future with no end date in mind, even though a 5 to 11 vaccine is due to be approved as early as next week. What I'm asking for is your help in pushing back against the continued mandatory masking of our kids with no off-ramp in sight, and instead ask for optional masking. The American Academy of Pediatrics last week declared a national mental health emergency of our country's youth. Our children deserve to know when they will have normalcy again. We need off-ramps, especially since we'll have a 5 to 11 vaccine next week.
Thank you. Thank you. Rudy Kraus, followed by Stacy Schmidt.
Hi, my name is Rudy Kraus. My book, you guys are very, very short-sighted on the way you're looking at this COVID virus parasite. All viruses are parasites. Doctor, you should know that. It goes back 400 million years to the Devonian period when humans had their first interactions with the coronavirus. It stems from the coronavirus, which is a parasite. Now we're looking at a human extinction event. You talk about all these maskers and all of these people that got vaccines like it's such a good thing to do. They've shot themselves in the foot. God does not play dice. Now Fauci does. This is like the island of Dr. Moreau, only it's the island of Dr. Fauci. Now my book is called Origin of the Species, Homo sapien vaccinicus, human COVID symbiote. Now, since Dr. Madej has produced the photograph of the parasite, I've had to add parasite. This is all part of Pfizer's symbiote genetic engineering. The vaccinated are now 77% human and 23% COVID virus parasite. Now look, this is what it looks like. I drew this, I painted it like over a year ago. I already knew what was up. I'm not late to the game. That's what it looks like. This is what Dr. Maga produced, 2 weeks ago on Stu Peters? Same thing. This is a Hydra virus. It is a water virus. And what it is, the most important thing you need to know is that this is an anaerobic virus. It lives without oxygen or little oxygen. When you mask up, it is a depletion 20% of oxygen. Doctor, I saw you pull your mask away. Why'd you do that? Oh, because you couldn't breathe? Oh, yeah, and maybe you like that CO2 inhalation. Have you seen the mouse studies on CO2 chambers and how they can run the maze at first when they got 100% air, and then you put in a little 20%. Now they can't find the food anymore. They can't negotiate the treadmill. Put in a little bit more, and now they get depressed and they go in a corner just like all your students are doing now. And then they
Thank you. The next speaker is Stacy Schmidt.
Good evening, Madam President, esteemed members of the board, Dr. Pulver, and Executive Cabinet. My name is Stacy Schmitz, and I'm the LAEA Union President. I'm here to speak tonight on behalf of our LAEA. The Los Alamitos Education Association Representative Council adamantly opposes the recall of Los Alamitos school board members. We oppose the recall because it is opposed to teachers, to equal access public education, and our democratic norms. The recall attempt poses an existential threat to our students, our district, our community, our schools, and our collective values. We oppose the recall because it is designed to drain funds from our school district, knowingly diverting and depleting needed public resources that are earmarked for educational purposes. The Los Alamitos Unified School District is responsible for all recall expenses. Credible sources estimate that the cost of our district and the cost to our district and the impact on our student population could be as much as $232,000. The district would absorb the cost of all aspects of this recall, including verifying each petition signature, estimated to exceed $3 per signature. We oppose the recall because supporters of it have engaged in aggressive campaigns targeting our teachers, administrators, and our district efforts to provide a quality education for all of our students. They oppose the individual student, oppose open intellectual inquiry, and discourage student engagement in a free and democratic society. We oppose the recall because it is being supported, funded, and fostered mostly by people and interests with limited connections to the Los Alamitos school community. These individuals drive the campaign, but it is our students in our community that will suffer its impacts. A recall poses a danger to all stakeholders. We oppose the recall because as a unified body of educators and educated citizens, we know that the risk of silence is too great. The costs are too high to sit on the sidelines at this crucial moment in time. Teachers of the Los Alamitos Unified School District stand together in opposition to the proposed recall of members of our duly elected school board. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Brandt, followed by Ann Sachs.
Hi there, my name is Dan Brandt. Can't believe I'm here second time speaking. Never thought I would be. Just give you a little bit of background real quick. I have two kids at Lee Elementary. I will say Amy Vento, she's an amazing principal, so I can second that. Well, the reason I'm here is I worked in the community for 23 years. I knew that I went to Los Alamitas High School, grew up in the district, knew this was a great place to raise my kids. We left, went to Long Beach, had to fight with my wife, like we're going back to La Salle. That's where we're going because it's a great community, great district. The issues I have is now that we face this, I know it's not a vaccine mandate yet, but I understand that the government, when Newsom wants that to happen, it's going to happen quickly. So we have to be mobilized now for that. It's not time to sit there and wait for that mandate to come out because I know how it's going to work. You know, I know I represent a lot of different parents because we speak, you know, at sporting events and a lot of different places. And I can tell you I'm active with LAIF. I volunteer in the classroom. I'm on committees. I'm on, you know, I try to do everything I can for the district because I love the district. But the issue is now going to be the mandate. Because I'll tell you my bottom line at the end of when I speak here. We moved to Los Alamitos. You know, from one day, the first day of the pandemic, I was working. I worked the entire time. So I didn't have a time to go on Zoom or anything like that. I had to come home, wash my clothes before we could see the kids, right? And the idea was that since that time, we've learned a lot about COVID, okay? So we've learned a lot of different things about COVID, and I can tell you a little bit about that. You know, as we've been going along, I've been doing risk assessments the whole time, you know, because I've been thinking, man, can I expose my kids or not? So I got the vaccine. They said it was going to be over when people got the vaccine. That's not the case. We know that people still transmit it. I was following the stats from the beginning. CDC started off, they had stats under 1 year old, 1 to 4, 5 to 14, 15 to 24. Well, now they've switched it to 0 to 17. That's how they do stats, because they want to manipulate what the message is. And I even called the Orange County Department of Public Health last week. Spoke with the epidemiologist. How many kids have died with COVID in Orange County? 2. All of Orange County. So, and he did say that they were in bad shape before. So the idea is I'm still doing that risk assessment. So that's why it's important to me that I come speak, because this is going to become an issue. And I'll give Mrs. Hill a lot of gratitude and thank you for speaking out. It takes a lot of courage in this environment to speak out and say how you feel. And I also, I want to thank you for saying that we need to work with the board last meeting, but also we need the board to work with us, okay? So what I'm saying is we're elected officials here, and I understand that maybe you say the influence, well, I need your influence to come out now, because if it doesn't, my kids are going to go.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ann Sachs, followed by Claire C. Claire C. after Ann.
First, another athletic update. The surf team this morning beat Orange Lutheran, and they're undefeated this year, and they're undefeated for the last 3 years prior. So that's important. And my name is Ann Sachs, and I'm an American, and I vote in this district, and I want to fight for American rights and values. 14 years ago, I moved here because this district's reputation of educational excellence. Los Alamitos ranks 27th out of more than 1,000 school districts. I felt and still feel that my school kids are getting a great American education here. Our district is under threat from outsiders and political activists. They say they're parents, but many of them are not. Even their treasurer, Lisa Ray, is a professional paid outside of this district, unlike all of you who got elected using a volunteer as a friend. This is funded by outside money. It's a group of mean-spirited individuals hell-bent on recalling this board and destroying our community. You have seen them, you've heard them. They seek to disrupt and demotivate our elected officials. They seek to destroy our schools so they can institute policies that are against the law. They want to close our schools to sell them to for-profit schools. so they can personally benefit. Just wait January 31st when the report comes out of where this group is getting their money. I know they won't be successful for many reasons. Here are some. People know that voting for the recall will cost this district hundreds of thousands of dollars. This money is intended to educate our children, not to fight or run frivolous recalls. That's what election's for. People know that if you have political activists, if these political activists are successful in our district, it'll be all over the news, bringing negative news to our community, hurting our community's good name. People know that if these political activists are successful, there will be a mass exodus of administrators, teachers, and students. People know that if these political activists are successful, our district will take steep declines in test scores and rankings. Tied to those steep declines would be an even steeper decline in our real estate values. Can you imagine realtors trying to sell their homes after these political activists take over with their stories all over the news? I know this won't succeed. Americans are smarter than these outsiders, political activists. This is a nationwide strategy that has failed almost everywhere. As our board, please don't let it discourage you from your work.
Thank you. Thank you. Claire C., followed by Leah R.
Okay, Claire C. Claire Chu, actually. I just feel so, happy, have the chance to talk here, and everyone has the freedom to speak. But I strongly oppose the parent just to talk, before me, her turn. And we are talking about something just related to our kids, related to our country's future. And we don't put any personal emotion, not kind of like any anger into any, realistic, situation. I couldn't, believe she can told people here that it's a political hatred and kind of like, hurt our community and our school and our kids. We recall, have some reason. It doesn't mean we not put any credit for all the board members, all the teachers, all the school staff. They work hard. But we have any other issue, we have some better choice. That's, I always emphasize it. It doesn't mean we cannot wipe out what you guys did. We just have some better choice. Don't put it in person. Again, I want you to know, don't put it in person. We just sit down and we can work out the better solution to make our school district better. What makes me concerned is the critical theory, CRT, critical race theory. It can never be applied into our school because it really teaches kids hate each other because of their race, because of their skin color, and make them identify them different from others. No, we are all American. We are all one nation, one race. Don't let them divide by the CRT. So for that reason, I want to recall part of your members. If you can withdraw CRT in this school district, maybe I'm fine. But if you continuously teach CRT in school, in class, I will for sure recall. That's it.
Leah R., followed by Dorothy Farrell.
I'm so short. Good evening. This is Dr. Pulver already mentioned about this, but I'm going to say it again because it is extremely important to the community. First, it's an item that concerns the majority of constituents in this school district. The appointed redistricting commissioners in Sacramento are considering redistricting Rossmore, Los Alamitos, parts of Cypress, and recently Seal Beach into Long Beach, LA County District. This means our state representatives would not be drawn from Orange County. That means we're going to be part of Long Beach, and we're going to become completely voiceless. So it's extremely important that everybody gets involved. To find out more, go to save.90720.com, where you can once again save.90720.com, where you can share your concerns with the commissioners, both via email and public comment. Do it ASAP because the final decision is being made in November. Second, last school board meeting, Ms. Hill and Ms. Davidson suggested they would like to work with the community to send a message to Newsom that they are not in favor of universally mandated COVID vaccine for school-age children. I'm happy to report that the legwork for sending a message has been done for us by San Juan Capistrano School District. The Capistrano Unified School District Board of Trustees recently voted 4-2 to send a letter to Governor Gavin Newsom asking him to rescind the COVID-19 vaccine mandate for K-12 students. Part of the resolution mentioned, we believe the governor's K-12 student vaccine mandate is ill-advised and in opposition to the education and socio-emotional goals of the state and district. It also mentioned that the vaccine mandate will result in substantial number of families choosing to leave traditional in-person K-12 school, thereby crippling California's existing school systems. I sent the articles to Ms. Davidson, and I believe this Los Alamitos school could craft a similar resolution very easily. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dorothy Farrell, followed by Matt Simmons.
Hi, my name is Dorothy, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about our grassroots organization that we have here to elect to our school board members that represent our family values and our community. As I mentioned previously when I spoke here before, I never really gave a thought about who I voted for the school board. I voted in 2020, and Scott, I honestly can't tell you if I voted for you or not. There you go. So what do you can say about that? You gave me a comment. Okay. So with that being said, fast forward 2020, what I wanted to talk a little bit about, as I said, is our grassroots organization. I don't know if anybody noticed outside tonight, everybody that was out there supporting the recall, the mandates, things like that are happening to our kids, and standing up for freedom. Right now, what I want to talk about is freedom for our kids. I want no more CRT, no more ethnic studies, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to fight against that. Right now, Scott, you talked about meeting with your constituents. I'm in District 4. I've never heard of you trying to meet with any of us. I'd like to do that. Maybe you could talk with us about it. Maybe a comment. I don't know. Megan commented earlier, so I don't know if you can comment or not. But right now, I'm here to tell you my voice will be heard. We're going to move forward with this recall. We are going to elect people to this board that will represent the families and the values of this community that made me come to this community to raise my family and bring my children here. Thank you.
Matt Simmons, followed by Alexander Rodriguez.
Hi, my name is Matthew Simmons. First, I'd like to thank all of the protesters who were outside and the hundreds of cars that honked in support against the vaccine mandate. And regarding the mandate, if the state mandate causes harm to children, and I believe it does, it is the board's responsibility to stand up and protect our children. You can't follow orders and say, well, I was just following orders. And you can't follow orders that hurt children and just say I was following orders. We're not Germany, we're America. And under Newsom's proposed vaccine mandate, my daughter will no longer be able to go to school at the school district. She recovered from COVID. She had 1.5 days of blowing her nose, and she now has natural immunity. According to scientific studies from Israel, she has 15 times more protection from COVID than if she got the vaccine. And yet the mandate would require her to get the vaccine, even though it provides her no protection according to science, and so there is a risk to getting the vaccine. And there'd be no benefit. So how could you support or stand up? It'd be better to stand up and protect the children or step down and resign. My wife is a doctor. She was one of the first ones to get the vaccine. Her face swelled up, her lips bled for 3 weeks. She had allergic reaction. She wanted to take the second dose, but was advised against it. And 1 year later, said, well, thank you. The hospital she worked with said, you need to get the vaccine or else she'd lose her job. So she was coerced into getting the vaccine again, and now she has the reoccurring. And do you have the appetite to coerce children and say, hey, I'm just following orders, they need to follow orders in order to go to the school? Or will you be proud, will you stand up and do the right thing and be brave like the Southwest pilots who stood up against the federal mandate and do the right thing? The Nuremberg Code of Ethics says people should have the right to take the experimental medicine and not be coerced. This totally goes against the Nuremberg Code. And Pfizer has the largest criminal fine in history to the tune of billions of dollars for lying to the public to sell their product. And they've paid millions of dollars to politicians worldwide to create draconian policies. And I urge you, I implore you not to follow orders to take these draconian policies. It's not right. And these are children, and you can't just say, well, it's just following orders. Do the right thing, stand up or step down. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexander Rodriguez, followed by Yasin Yan.
Hi, good evening. Alex Rodriguez, I'm a parent of 2 boys in Los Alamitos Unified School District. Came here to speak on a couple of things, but I was listening to the meeting here. Mr. Scott, it's the first time I've seen you and the first time I'm putting a face to a lot of you here. Just talk about respect. I think the one thing here is that we need to learn about respect on both levels, parents, district members, everybody in our community alike. There's over 300 million opposing views in this country. We can't all be right, but we can be respectful. We can respect the right of the individual to choose what is best for them, to make sure they know what is safe for themselves and their family. I think a lot of what's been going on this past couple months has been very politically charged, and I think we've lost respect. Respect for each other, to understand that we're making decisions for each other arbitrarily, based off of information that we choose to accept as right or wrong. We need to change that. We need to understand that we're making individual decisions for our well-being. Because I decide to wear a mask, I'm gonna wear it for my well-being. Because I decide to get vaccinated, I'm doing it for my well-being. I'm not gonna do it for somebody else because they have that ultimate choice to do what they need to do to make sure they are safe. And that's what's called individual freedom. Part of one of the things that, one of the big topics was CRT, and you call it whatever you want, social justice. I think we've lacked a lot of respect in that sense. Respect for each other as individuals. Now we're seeing each other as colors and ethnicities, trying to cause division. Now it's gender. And now we're moving on to something else, vaccinated or unvaccinated. So we're starting to see this. I'm a first responder. I've had plenty of guys that I work with that are vaccinated, and there's plenty that are not vaccinated. And what do? I respect their individual choice. When we go out there, we put ourselves at risk. It's just an inherent part of the job. In the end, I respect their decision. They respect mine. I'm vaccinated. I don't care if they're unvaccinated. I'm going to respect their decision because that's why they are Americans. That's what Americans do. We respect each other. So when someone says that all this negative energy is unproductive and it's just a political agenda, it's not a political agenda. It's about respecting each other's and our freedoms. And yes, you do have power. Just as some of the people that came up here earlier to speak about what actions other school boards have taken, yeah, you do have power. And thank you, Ms. Hill, for doing that. That's what we need. We need you guys to come together and say, you know what, we're going to respect the individual and respect our rights. The students' rights as individuals, whether they choose to be vaccinated or not, whether they choose to wear masks or not, everyone has a choice at this point. 300 million Americans, let's figure this out. We can make it happen. Thank you, Mr. Pulver, for making that happen last year when you decided to push forward with going hybrid, and there was people that had the option to stay at home. Good. They did what they needed to do in order to make themselves feel safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Christine Yan, followed by Ruth Jordan.
My name is Yasing. I have two teens in the Los Al School District who have been raised here in the Los Al School District since kindergarten to judge a person by the content of their character, not the color of their skin, one of whom is integrally involved in the award-winning tech theater here at Los Al. Now, I wanted to emphasize that I'm here to talk about the COVID mandate. I have been rallying with this poster since August, and the message has been consistent. We, the people, must keep these investigation injections voluntary and respect bodily autonomy. We, the people, do not bear the burden of proving that we have the constitutional right to opt out of experimental trials or to fight for exemptions. It is the government that has the weight of the burden to prove that these experimental shots are safe, effective, and that the benefits far outweigh the risks. Yet, there's not even one safety report. The government has no authority to mandate experimental shots allowed under the emergency use authorization. Keep in mind that the CDC recently reported that out of 100,000 adolescents, less than 3 would need to be hospitalized for COVID. And out of that, less than 1 would need the ICU and 0 deaths. The risks of COVID is even less for those under 12 years old. The injuries and risks of these investigational injections have been well established and substantiated. Yet there is not one official transparency report. Remember, the injected can still get infected and still transmit the virus. So what is happening? We, the people, have complied to get back to normal, to end the pandemic, to do what is for the greater good. 2 weeks to flatten the curve. We sheltered in, we kept social distance, we masked up. More than 60% of us have gotten injected with an experimental vaccine. And now we're coerced, forced to choose between work and between schooling, between that and preserving our immune system and our lives. The government has failed from the White House down to the school district level, letting political polarity and public health policies race past evolving science and data, letting dividing, blaming, shaming, and gaslighting define us as Americans. Coercion, in effect, blackmail, does not belong to a school district that ignites unlimited possibilities. Enough parents have united to say, basta, enough. Please allow me to wrap up with a definition of terrorism from the American Heritage Dictionary. The use of violence or the threat of violence in the
Thank you.
Your time is up. Thank you for speaking tonight.
Ruth Jordan, followed by Lauren.
You didn't have to clean that for me. I'm not scared of COVID. I deal with COVID patients myself. Okay, so first, thanks for letting me talk. Scott, I'm glad that you talked to parents, but I don't like your quote about how if you disagree, that you're not gonna listen to it or do anything about it. Fact is, we're the parents. We have the right to choose what is right for our children, not you. Okay? One. So I am no on mandates on masks, no on vaccines, and no on CRTs. All these, I'm sorry, are bullshit. It does nothing but create hate. And masks, as I said before, they're useless. Okay? They're dirty. Kids are dirty. You spit, when you talk, you spit at it. It's like a reservoir for bacteria, viruses, and mold. There have been studies where they swab those masks, and there are tons of microbes, germs that can infect our kids' respiratory, not COVID. Vaccines. I don't care if the FDA approved of it. There are so many unknowns. Myocarditis, pericarditis, strokes. I've seen more and more stroke patients, MIs, patients with myocarditis, and all other issues, GI bleeds after getting vaccine. I'm not saying it is from it. I'm just saying it's a possibility and no one's recording it. Don't you see something's wrong with this? As educators, use your critical thinking, right? So that means we should have a choice to see what goes in our kids' body. Vaccines may hurt them. So I'm not gonna vaccinate my kids because what if they get COVID? How many kids do you know that have gotten COVID and gotten really sick? Zero, very little. CRTs, you're only gonna create hate. So we cannot blame someone else, some student for succeeding while the others are not succeeding. That's not their problem because they're white. So if you're white, I'm a minority, why don't I go and take your place? Because I've never been experienced, as a board member. Why don't I take your place? Because you're white, you're privileged. That's why you're up there, right? I don't think so.
Lauren, followed by Margaret.
Hi, guys. My name's Lauren Rapoli, and I am here as a concerned parent to urge you to be the first school to say no mandates for our children. It should be up to every parent to make that decision, not you, Scott. Last year, September 8th, in 2020, I read an article from ABC Channel 7. An article stated, Los Alamitos Unified School District becomes first public school district in OC to reopen for in-person instructions due to state waiver. It also stated if schools are allowed to reopen September 22nd, 2020, it will be up to each school district whether to do so. So our students have been in school for way over a year now, and you guys want to say that the mandate isn't mandatory yet. But if it is, the shot that has a 0.27% fatality rate in children 0 to 19, and children infected with COVID have a 99.9937% survival rate. The infection fatality rate is so low that Pfizer's clinical trials involved 2,300 kids did not detect any health benefits at all from the shot. Pfizer has not demonstrated any health benefits for children, and the potential risk for children are detrimental. The Pfizer mRNA vaccine causes horrific side effects, particularly heart inflammation in children 12 through 24. We are vaccinating 28 million kids to maybe save 14 lives. Today, if you guys were aware, FDA was live and they approved the vaccine for children ages 5 through 11. One of the FDA voting members stated, we're never gonna learn about how safe the vaccine is until we start giving it. That is sick and inhumane. Today's hospitals are swamped with patients having blood clots, heart conditions, and suicide injuries. And you say wellness together, shame on you, Los Al School Board. If you care for wellness, I urge you to be the first to say no mandates for our children. What side of history are you willing to participate? Leave our children alone. Let them be kids and enjoy one another. Let them breathe again and smile again. Emailing and calling, like you say, isn't gonna help. If you guys are aware of back in 2019, there was a bill passed by PAN, AB 276, making it impossible for children to go to in-person school unless they were fully vaccinated, as well as getting a medical exemption. Doctors were scared to give them because their license would be taken away. If you remember parents pounding on walls at the state capitol in 2019 in hopes that their voices would be heard, their voices were shamed, kind of like Scott just said. We are selfish for being vocal. Scott, we are vocal because we are our children's biggest advocates. Okay? Choose your own path, Scott. Choose your own path. That was very rude of you to say parents are selfish. You say
Margaret's next. Thank you. Your time's up. Fuck you. Margaret?
Hi there, I'm here once again as a concerned parent about the mandate. My son really struggled last year, even under the hybrid schedule, although we were very grateful. He still struggled. He's just now starting to feel comfortable and is making friends in school. He's testing weekly because he's in a certain program, so he's not a threat. But we're now facing his removal due to the mandate. He's devastated. We're all devastated about this. Many parents who are facing this difficult decision are flooding boardrooms all over California. I've seen it. So please don't sit on your hands and tell us that there's nothing you can do as a board, and just go speak with our legislators. It's clear that 2 of you are concerned about this. I'm not so sure about the other 3. While parents will be reaching out to Sacramento and their reps, I'm telling you that their efforts will be absolutely futile. Whenever they have an agenda, that agenda will be to remove any exemptions that might still exist, they will always toe the party line. They do it every single time. So you, all 5 of you, have a bigger and a more influential voice than all of us. It seems like there's maybe not too much of a concern about declining enrollment. We got numbers last meeting about that. I'm curious about how many students in this district were kept home on Monday, October 18th. I heard that there was somewhere between maybe 7 and 10%, depending on the school. I'm curious what the accurate number was. So if those children are no longer enrolled, what does that mean? Less funds? Does that mean less teachers? What happens to their jobs? And what happens to the funding for schools? So here's my point. Capo Unified, I know somebody else already mentioned that, they recognized the devastating effect this mandate will have on their district, and they drafted a resolution requesting Newsom to rescind the mandate, to consider doing that. So I have a copy, it's signed by the board members, and so I'm asking, I think many other parents are asking this district to consider a similar resolution. You, all of you here, you are our local representatives. Please do something before it's too late. If there is no official mandate yet, now is the time. Now is the time to do what you can. What do you want your legacy to be on this issue? Really? This injection is an experiment. We don't know. The FDA said, we're going to release it on the kids. Let's see what happens. Many parents aren't willing to take that risk right now. So this is the resolution. Can you give that to them? Thank you. Thank you.
the public forum, and we will take a 5-minute break. Presentation, so we will move on to consent items. Items 12A through M and O through Q. Our consent items, we're pulling 12N. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Yes.
Can I make just a quick statement? Oh, I was going to say, because we had more people staying for the real business part of the board meeting, I was going to explain what consent items were.
Okay, go for it.
So consent items are items that are routine in nature. We have the opportunity, as you all do, to read the agenda, go through the agenda. If there are questions on anything, we get those questions sent, answers sent back to us. And so when we go ahead and either approve or deny a bunch of things at one time, it's because these are very routine things and items for the district. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Thank you, Mrs. Hill. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. And now we're looking at 12N, and Mrs. Catulli, I believe you pulled that.
I pulled it, so I will move approval of 12N.
Second.
Okay. The reason why I pulled this is that we are entering into a contract with Pacific Floor Company to redo the gym floor at the Maga Elementary gym. I was trying to figure out how old that gym floor was, and I know it's over 50, but I couldn't tell you exactly how old it is. So I'm sure it really needs to be replaced, because I can remember approving it being refinished 2 or 3 times, and it's getting thinner and thinner as we speak. But the real reason why I pulled this is not only because it was something that we need to do for our maintenance on our facilities, is that we share the use of that gym with the city of Seal Beach, who uses it in their with their rec department. We have a fabulous working relationship with Seal Beach. We also have a great one working with LaSalle, but I'm on the Seal Beach committee, so I'm more familiar with that one. And they said, sure, yes, it does need to be replaced. We can't refinish it any longer. We should do our due diligence as a district, which we have done, to come up with the lowest reasonable bid. And they're going to pay for half of it. And it's great because the city has more recreational facilities, and we're able to upgrade our facilities cheaper because we're sharing the cost. So I wanted to say thank you so much, City of Seal Beach.
Thank you. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. So we move on to action items, and our first action item is a reading and approval of updated board policy. Mrs. Reed?
Thank you so much, President Davidson. Tonight we're bringing forward a update to Board Policy 5141.52, suicide prevention. The changes reflect the most up-to-date education code outlining measures for prevention and intervention and staff training development for suicide prevention. The language also specifies that the board shall review and update this policy at least every 5 years.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion for approval?
Second.
Any discussion?
I just, it's a sad state of affairs when we have to have a board policy on suicide prevention. Yes. And I'm grateful that we do and that we recognize it and don't bury our heads in the sand. But I look forward to hopefully our wellness centers helping that become less necessary. Thank you, Mrs. Davidson.
Thank you. And once again, these board policies are renewed and reviewed often, and we are provided with them ahead of time, so we've read all of them. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries 5-0. We're now moving on to approval of the Los Alamitas High School Student Government Class, ASB. Mrs. Reed?
Thank you, President Davidson. As many of you know, we just have an exceptional student leadership program at Los Alamitas High School run by Mrs. Siaka and Mr. Fenton. And many people don't know the great work that ASB does behind the scenes to really partner not only with the student body, but with the school administration and put on so many wonderful activities for students. And it sometimes was interesting to learn that it currently doesn't receive A through G credit. So it's not viewed currently as a UC CSU elective. And so I really want to kudos Los Alamitos High School, Jason Farver in particular, for working really diligently over these past 6 months to write a proposal for our ASB course to receive A through G credit, which was approved through UC Doorways. And so we really are excited to come to the board tonight and change the designation of this high school elective to a G credit elective. And it will be retroactive through the last 3 years. So we will be updating student transcripts. These are some of our great students on campus who really give their heart and soul to the school and put in so many hours of service, philanthropy, and volunteer time, and definitely worth the G elective credit for these leadership students.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
Second?
Further discussion?
Yes, I want to say, I am embarrassed that I didn't know it wasn't approved as an elective, because it is truly our student leaders who work in this, and they do put in hours and hours, and I just always kind of assumed it would be considered an elective, which is part of through the A through G course acceptance. And in order to get it qualified, I know that you have to spend a great deal of time writing to it and what the meat of the course is and everything like that. So thank you to Mr. Farrer and the other person,
Mrs. Yaka.
Mrs. Yoka, for doing that, because that's extra work. I mean, and our kids are going to benefit from it. So I'm really happy to vote on this.
I'd also like to say I had no idea that there was not credit, and I've always known that with the AP kids, the really strong students, the battle was that it wasn't an AP class. I thought that was the conflict, because every class period is so crucial to their transcripts, and we need to not lose these kinds of leaders, and we need to not lose their abilities to carry that leadership forward into other avenues in the future. So I'm really thankful, and someday maybe it'll even be an AP class. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. Now moving on to approval of the Los Alamitas High School Computer Integrated Manufacturing course. And Mrs. Reed.
Thank you, President Davidson. This is a very similar story. This is one of our CTE courses that falls in the pathway for our engineering and design pathway. And it also previously did not receive G elective credit. So both ASB and CIM, they receive high school graduation elective credits currently, but they don't receive that additional designation where for when you apply to the UCs and CSUs, that grade is totaled into their academic GPA. It's almost like an empty course on that transcript. And so we're really excited as well to bring forward our computer integrated manufacturing course to also qualify the UC Doorways for that G elective credit this evening.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion for approval?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. Next, we have approval of the Los Alamitas High School CT internship course. Mrs. Reed?
Thank you, President Davidson. So we're also very excited. We've got some great items on the agenda tonight. I'm really excited to bring this forward. It really is a capstone to our CTE pathway. So this would be internship credit that would be under the G elective, A through G, for students who have completed in 9th through 11th grade the 3-year pathway in the engineering design field. During their senior year, they would be eligible to be in an internship period. They wouldn't actually be taking that class on our campus, and they would start out on campus, but then they would literally traverse to one of our partners. Martin Valenzuela, who's currently teaching many of the courses, has been developing programs and opportunities with business partners in the local area that will serve us for the spring semester. And so we'll be excited to share out what those partners will be for spring, but this will be a new course added to the curriculum handbook at Los Alamitos High School that would allow a 4-year experience in the CTE pathway for our students.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'll move approval.
Any discussion?
I just love all the opportunities that we have for a variety of different students at our campus, and just to, I remember that, you know, part of the goal is to have them leave the high school campus ready for whatever is their next pathway, and thank you for helping make these wonderful opportunities come forward.
Thank you. Sure, Meg.
I'm on the ROP, which is we are more career technical board with a consortium of 5 school districts. And one of the things that we've always said, it's very, if you can have the child do student do an an internship, it just really cements their learning, and it also brings in the soft skills, which I know this course is going to cover too. And by soft skills, I mean resume writing. How do you conduct yourself in an interview, look a person in the eye, shake their hands, all the things that as adults we've either learned by osmosis or by not doing them and not getting forward in life or not getting the job we wanted. So a lot of the soft skills are included in it. And for any student who has a passion for something like this, to be able to do an internship, it just shows the value of education to them. And so whether they take their certificate that they have at the end of their course and then go forward from there, or continue on into college to get more certificates or a degree perhaps. But I think that this is just a fabulous opportunity. So my hat's off to Mr. Valenzuela, because I am sure he has spent a lot of time and effort developing this. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. The next is approval of an amendment to an agreement with Avidex. And I'm going to let Mrs. Galicia say all of these wonderful industrial names.
Thank you, Madam President. So this is an amendment to the original contract that we brought forward a while ago for audio and visual and sound components for the multi-story building. So as we continue to do walkthroughs, we realized that there's some additional areas that needed audio and visual and sound components, and that would be the Career Center, the Media Center, and outside on the grand staircases. That's where we're going to add some additional. So it's $90,000 in addition to the previous amount, so bringing the total of $554,000, which is already embedded within the total projected cost of the multi-story building.
Thank you. Thanks for explaining it so well. Do I hear a motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Yay. Yay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. Next, we have approval of the Los Alamitas Unified School District's Elementary and Secondary Emergency Relief 3 Expenditure Plan. Mrs. Reed?
Thank you so much, President Davidson. Tonight, we're bringing forward the SR3 Expenditure Plan, which is really the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Expenditure Plan, also known as the SR3 Expenditure Plan. It's a document that outlines how we will use the SR3 funds that were received by the district. The specific plan explains how SR3 funds will be used to address students' academic, social, emotional, and mental health needs, as well as any gaps that may have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion for approval?
I so move.
Second. Good. Any discussion?
I just want to say that reading through this plan, I am so appreciative of the creativeness that was used in going through this, in using things that really helped our students, helped our teachers, helped our district through this unprecedented time, but also things that will continue to enhance learning here in Los Alamitos and health and safety in Los Alamitos for the long haul. So I am very appreciative of that, and it was really well put together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really a big thank you to Mrs. Melissa Davis, as well as Ms. Galicia and her director, Myra, who really worked together in partnership to put this plan together. I really can't take credit for it, so I want to make sure that those three ladies are recognized tonight.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Thanks, Sylvia. Yeah. Any other discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. Now we're moving on to a consideration and approval of salary schedules for confidential supervisory and FOMT manager supervisors for 21-22 school years. Dr. Frazier?
Thank you, Madam President. As you know, we had reached agreement previously with CSEA for a salary increase, and this is the consideration to extend that salary increase to our non-represented classified employees. So those folks that work classified positions at the district office or at MOT and supervisorial roles, EDCC, et cetera. And so this is up for your consideration.
Thank you very much.
And just to be clear,
okay.
It's not administrators, it is our
Okay.
classified, like our cafeteria supervisors, our extended daycare supervisors, et cetera.
So So what does FMOT stand for?
Facilities, maintenance, operations, and transportation. We have a facility supervisor and a transportation supervisor.
So we should probably just use that because that explained everything.
Right?
That was great. That was great.
Or say everything else.
Everything else.
Everything else.
Everything else. Good.
I move approval.
Second? Any discussion?
I would just like to say I'm glad that we're bringing this forward, and it is based on what we have already approved with our classified employees. So I think this is a good thing to do for these employees.
Absolutely.
Nice holiday. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries 5-0. Next, we have approval of our warrants. We get to read through probably 60 pages of bills that finance wants to pay, and we have the opportunity of asking questions about any expenditure that we are unsure about before tonight when we vote. So this is approval of warrants, which is approval of payment of our bills. Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries 5-0. And now we go to the part that just really reflects so positively on our community, the acceptance of donations. Okay, so you can see that I like to say something about the first one, Nancy Burba, the $5,000 donation. This is from the grandmother of Otto, who took his own life this summer, and McCullough was the school at which Otto was a student. So we always think of Otto. He lived around the block from me. He's always on our heart. And for all the other donations totaling $10,555, we thank you with all our hearts for your generosity at a stressful time, with a total this year of $219,373.03. So thank you to a very generous community of individuals, families, groups, and organizations. So thank you. Do I hear a motion for acceptance of donations?
Also move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries 5-0. And now Dr. Frazier will address classified and certificated personnel reports along with administrative certificated personnel reports.
Thank you, Madam President. I do want to take this opportunity to thank our Celeste Ariano, our classified specialist, who really has done an amazing job of the recruitments, making sure people get hired, to get their paperwork. We are in unprecedented times in terms of hiring, needing employees, and so it just doesn't seem to stop, and they've just done an amazing job for the last couple of years of just getting through all of our recruitments and really getting really quality people in through our processes with our merit system. So she's done an amazing job. Additionally, Elisa Miller on our certificated side, hiring teachers. We just hired a new psychologist. That's why we have an administrative certificated personnel report for you today. So we're bringing those forward as presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
A second.
Is there any discussion? It's a generous second. Any discussion? I'd just like to say thank you, Dr. Frazier, and to all of your team, because as we're walking through the schools today, we met a couple of new employees at Lee, and they were just so outstanding, so warm, so excited to be there, and so dedicated to the kids. So thank you. You all are doing a really fine job. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. Lastly, we have approval to elect 3 members to serve on the Orange County Committee on School District Organization. Mrs. Catulli.
Okay, I'm going to try to make this logical and fairly quick. I am the board representative to the nominating committee for the Orange County Committee on School District Reorganization. I also sit on that committee. We have people who are from the different supervisorial districts, and it's a 2-year term, so every year we elect new people. We have, on this particular ballot, we have 3 people that are up for re-election. 2 of the positions are unopposed, and in the 5th supervisorial district, we have 2 people, Sheila Beneke and Lauren Brooks. Sheila Beneke is currently on the committee, and she's actually the president last year of our committee. And she used to be on the Capital Board and it's gone off many years ago. In order to qualify to be on this board, you just had to have been a board member at some point in your life. And Lauren Brooks is a board member currently in Irvine. So we as a board need to vote on the people. Obviously, Joanne Purnell and Jackie Philbeck will be elected because there's no one running against them. So I would suggest that we keep Sheila because she does a very good job. She's very informed. This is a committee we don't meet that frequently unless everybody's going into trustee areas, and then we meet all the time. And everyone goes, this is a committee that meets once a year. Why am I seeing you guys for the 5th time this year? But she is very knowledgeable, and they want, not that Lauren isn't, but what you need to do is really have a big picture whenever anything's coming up. Sometimes there'll be, trustee area changes. Sometimes there are areas within school districts that want to go to another school district, and you just need to have a really broad picture for it. So I guess I would like to know if anybody has any questions or comments or anything, or somebody wants to make a motion.
I move approval of the two for sure. And then also for Sheila, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Second.
We will, Mrs. Cottuli, I have a great deal of confidence in your evaluation, so.
Thank you. And I just want to say that this is a piece of the recall that I think expresses its insanity because Mrs. Cattuli's work and connections throughout the state keep us so advised and informed, and we are so much more able to make wise decisions because of all that you share and all the hard work you do from here to Sacramento. So
100%.
thank you so much.
Do it for the kids.
Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
Thank you so much.
The
I
motion
will
carries
take care of my duty
5-0.
here.
And I believe that concludes our meeting tonight. We are not going into closed session, so that closes our October 26th board meeting.